Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Nania Owusu-Ankomah Sackey, and welcome to today's panel session, Becoming a Partner. Now, we'll all agree that becoming a partner in law practice is an aspirational target for many lawyers. However, the journey to partnership has often proven to be very difficult, requiring a lot of grit and resilience. This panel today will discuss how women can navigate the path to partnership. To explore this topic, I have with me three well-accomplished women who are partners at top-tier law firms in South Africa, Nigeria, and Ghana. Our first panelist is Lerato Mathopo, who is director and founder of DM5 Incorporated, a top-rated Black female-owned corporate commercial law firm with offices in Johannesburg and Cape Town. She has over 22 years post-admission experience advising in both the public and private sector. She has successfully co-managed DM5 for 14 years, and she is the head of Dispute Resolution and Investigations Department. Lerato has experience which includes transactional work in different sectors, such as telecoms, transport, energy, rail, student accommodation across various jurisdictions. Lerato is a fellow of the Cyrus R. Banks Center of International Justice of the New York City Bar. Our next panelist is Ozofu Ogiemudia, who is a partner at Udo Udomo and Bella Osagi's corporate advisory, private equity, and mergers and acquisitions team. She is recognized as an extremely resourceful and versatile advisor and has advised on various areas of the law, including private equity, mergers and acquisitions, corporate and commercial law, corporate restructuring, regulatory compliance, amongst others. She has been recognized in various legal directories, such as the IAWL 1,000 Women Leaders. She is rated as a highly regarded lawyer for her mergers and acquisitions and private equity practice. Ozofu is the secretary of the Nigerian Bar Association section on business law and the thematic lead of the National Assembly Business Environment Roundtable Working Group. Our last panelist, but certainly not the least, is Patricia Mumuni. Patricia joined Oxford and Bemu Solicitors, which is now ENS Africa Ghana, in 2012, and immediately after she was called to the Ghana Bar. In 2017, she was promoted to senior associate and became partner in 2021. She is a corporate and commercial lawyer and focuses on general corporate and commercial law, mergers and acquisitions, data privacy, and data protection, amongst others. Prior to becoming a lawyer, she worked at Bank of Africa, which used to be Amalgamated Bank of Ghana Limited. Patricia is married with 2 kids. Now, we have a very interesting discussion coming up, so we'll dive right into it. But before then, if you have any questions as we go along in our discussion, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. If you have a comment, however, please do use the chat box for comments. Now, I'm going to start with Patricia. We have Ozofu, who is yet to join. She's having a few technical difficulties. So we will start the panel discussion, and when Ozofu joins us, we will address some questions to her. Now, Patricia, you were recently elevated to partnership at ENS in 2021. Can you briefly share with us your journey to becoming a partner? What are the policies in your firm, and how did you work towards meeting those policies and standards?
Okay, thank you, Nania. So I would like to backtrack a bit and outline the journey, the birth of my corporate and commercial practice. When I joined ENS, then Oxford and Beaumont, I had to do a rotation. Having come out from law school in 2012, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I mean, I graduated as the best student in advocacy. So my natural inclination at the time was to be a litigator. But as I did the rotation, so I did rotation in the corporate dispute resolution team. I also rotated in the finance team and did a bit of rotation in the corporate and commercial team. And after that rotation, I realized that, look, I'm cut out for corporate and commercial, and I haven't looked back since. So the key takeaway here is that you need to know at a very early stage in your career what exactly you want to do. You don't want to go 5 years down the line and realize that, no, this is not meant for me and now have to start. So if you're a young lawyer, know from the very start what you want to do. And that is what I did, that as part of my journey that I think shaped me into what I am today. So on the policies that we have as a firm, there are a number of them, but one key policy is empowerment. So there's a huge focus on women empowerment in our firm. So if you're a woman and you put in your best, you are meeting your annual targets, because we have production targets that you have to meet. You are meeting your production targets, you are meeting other criteria, which I'm going to go through. The chances or the likelihood of being pushed is very high, because there's a huge gap when it comes to women in leadership, and the firm recognizes that. So there's a huge focus on empowerment in ENS Africa. Other things that look out for, other policies, other things that we have in place, one, goodwill. If you want to be a partner, you need to show that you can generate work. Okay, so even at senior associate level, I was working as if I was a partner. It is only when the partners see that you are operating at a level where they can elevate you or admit you in the partnership that they'll be willing to even consider you. So I wasn't waiting to become partner before taking certain steps. I was already operating at that level. So with business development, with bringing clients to the firm, making sure we get work, doing good work and getting referrals, I was doing that. And that was one of the key things that I had to do. Also with my expertise, it's something that you need to invest in constantly. You don't just learn from the transactions that you do. You need to set time aside. So I was doing that constantly, setting time aside to do learning, to know. And because if you know, knowledge is power. If you know, you're more confident in the things that you do. So those were some of the things that I was doing. Those are the policies in ENS Africa that the partners will look out for before they even consider you for a promotion.
Thank you, Patricia. I mean, I think you made a very important point, which was really also focusing on your own technical knowledge. And that's something that people forget to do. So thank you for that. Now to Lerato, we have a lot of women practitioners citing work-life balance as a major challenge for them. What are some practical tips that can assist women to deal with this?
Thank you very much, Nania. I often say that the use of the term work-life balance is misleading because it creates an impression that you spend the same amount of time or the resources are shared equally between your work and yourself. While in reality, there is no such thing as work-life balance. My belief, or at least what I've tried to inculcate in my life as a young parent, a few years ago, the struggle was, what do I do if there's a play at school and I want to be at the office at the same time? What do I do? So some of my tips include, you have to diarize your family commitment in the same diary as your work. Your family commitment are not a sideshow. Just as clients are important, clients' deadlines must be honored, client's timeline must be honored. It's the same with the family responsibilities. So you use the same diary to start with because it equalizes the obligation. And secondly, you need to accept that it's not always going to be possible for you to be there. it is not practical for you to attend every play in school while we would like to, or be there for every match. And it doesn't make you a bad parent, because I find as young parents, there's a lot of guilt that we have to carry in trying to balance. We compare ourselves with mothers that don't work. We want to be there for everything. It's not practical. So train your family accordingly, that they must understand that if you are there, you are there. But if you're not there, it doesn't mean you care less. When, just to give an example, my kids had gotten to a stage where they can say, Ma, this one is not important, even if you don't make it, but you have to make it for this one. So that's how I deal with work-life balance. And lastly, have good support. Have good support at home, have good support at the office. And good support at home is not just the nanny. Sometimes it's the aunt, it's the granny, anybody who's available to support. Have good support. And in the office, I mean, I think when we think office support, we think only the PA. It goes beyond that. There was a time when at DM5, because we're a female-owned firm and we were all young parents, we had a female driver for the office as part of support. If you can't pick up from school, the driver would step in. So accept there is no such thing as a work-life balance, but try and prioritize whatever needs your time at that particular time, prioritize it accordingly.
Thank you very much. I mean, I think most of us as lawyers are used to acting like superheroes and trying to do everything ourselves. And in my own journey, I had to learn that asking for help is okay. It's better to ask for help than trying to do everything yourself and never getting anything done. So that is a very important point you've made, Lerato. Now, back to Patricia. I wanted to explore with you what barriers you have had to overcome in your journey to becoming a partner. What strategies did you adopt to overcome those barriers? Can you share them with us?
Okay, thank you, Nania. Lerato and also you made a very fine point about asking for help and just finding a balance between your work and then your home. Because as women, we are primary caregivers. So mommy is supposed to make sure there's food. Mommy is supposed to attend PTA meetings. Mommy is supposed to attend sports events. Mommy has a mother. Mommy has to call mommy or grandma. Mommy is a niece to someone. Mommy is a granddaughter. Mommy has friends. So just managing or finding the balance between work and all these other aspects of our life has been my biggest challenge as a lawyer. And initially, adjusting was difficult. The most difficult times for me would usually be after maternity. You go on maternity and you come back and you're just trying to assimilate or get back into the system. And it's been like, it's as if you've been away for forever. So just managing or balancing my work and my home, it's still a challenge. But I have learned, as you're saying, that never be afraid to ask for help. And also having a very good support system at home. So if you have a grandmother who is capable, if you have a mother, if you have aunties, you can rely on them. When they know that your work is involving, they are willing to help. And I have that now. And it makes a huge difference in my life. So just finding that balance and also having a partner who is understanding. Fortunately, my husband is a lawyer, so he understands the demands of the work that I do. So that it has been a challenge, and I continue to work on that. Another challenge of mine is just being confident and knowing that I know and I deserve where I am. I deserve what I have today. I know further down we'll be speaking about, I'll speak further about this, but just being confident and being assured of yourself and your capabilities, because time and again, you realize that you are rewarded and you sit back and you think, do I even deserve this? But I do, because I've put in the work. And so that is something that I've had to deal with, that, you know, I'm trying to work on myself, just be confident and know that I got this, and wherever I am, I deserve. And one key thing as lawyers that we need to know is that if you want to develop and you want to be at the top of your career or your practice, you need to learn. You cannot rely solely on the transactions that you do. So that's something that I realized. So because there's no time, everybody's rushing. The transaction comes, giddy giddy, you have to, the transaction comes, you need to do it quickly, churn it out to the client. It's always one deadline after the other. So if you are not deliberate in your learning, and that's what I realized, so I try to set time aside just to learn different things in my practice. I may not be working on anything that has to do with that practice area, but just finding time to, you know, to learn something other than what I'm doing has helped a lot. It is because I wasn't doing that before, but I realized that after starting it, because you go into a meeting and someone brings up a topic and you're like, oh, you know, I read this case somewhere, and you can contribute. So that's something that we need to take seriously, and something that I realized that, you know, was a challenge for me, just finding time to learn. But I have made time, because you have 24 hours in a day. So if you structure your time well, you manage your time well, you'll be able to find time to do some of these things. And also going back to transactions that I've worked on is something that I wasn't, so you finish the transaction, there's a deadline, you send it to the clients, you never revisit that transaction. It's not good. For your development, you go back to look at the transaction, do a debrief for yourself or for your team. Okay, next time when the transaction comes back, you would know the in and out of the transaction, okay, so much that you can even call yourself an expert, but just doing transactions and moving on to other transactions may not be helpful. And that's something I was doing a lot in the past. I realized that, look, when I finish a transaction, no matter how simple it is, I go back and look at all the documentation. So that's something that I think that you can also do. Business development. Lawyers like to sit, a lot of us, the corporate and commercial lawyers, we are the most guilty of all. We sit behind our desk. I can sit behind my laptop 9 hours, 10 hours, and my only break will be to get lunch or get a snack. We don't want to go anywhere. There are networking events, you don't want to go. That was a big challenge for me in the beginning. So how I went about it is, if there's an event, I would ask my supervisor, my boss, that can I go with this other person? Because at least if I go, I have a familiar face that I know. And so I'll go with some other person. And with time, I realized that it was getting better. I was getting more confidence. I didn't need to go with anybody anymore. One thing happened at an event where I met a client at an event. I didn't even know he was a client, but I told him, oh, I work with ENS Africa. The next day we got instructions from that person just by meeting that person at the British High Commissioner's house. Just that meeting generated work for us. So business development, you cannot overestimate it. It's so important. And it's something that lawyers, corporate commercial lawyers should take seriously. So these are the things that, the key things that I was having challenges with, which I have over the years tried to find strategies on how to manage them, not resolve them completely, but to manage them and do better at them.
Thank you so much, Patricia. Just picking up on a few things that you mentioned. Number one, making time to reflect on previous work that has been done. I completely agree. It's very important. The brain learns and unlearns things, and it's important to always remind yourself and relearn things that you've done. And you also mentioned your partner, the type of person you end up being with. And I recall that when I was a much younger lawyer, one very important advice that a senior lawyer who is a woman gave me was that choosing a partner is a business decision as well as a career decision. So if you are a young lawyer, you are now starting out, you are not married, please take some time to really consider the type of person you are choosing to be your partner on your career journey. Now, Lerato, I just wanted to get your thoughts on mentoring and support by women leaders. What do you think? How do you think women leaders can support others?
Well, I think mentoring as a concept is a very important thing for lawyers. I mean, looking back now, I look back and I think, what would I have done differently if I had a mentor? What decisions would I have made if I had a mentor? Well, generally, I'm very happy with the course that it has taken, that my career has taken, but maybe some of the pain would have been better if I had a mentor. Some of the lessons I would have learned from my mentor. For example, starting a law firm, I had no idea about some of the challenges that came with it. So mentorship is very important. And I also think when you choose a mentor, you don't always have to choose someone who's a lot like you. I think we tend to be very comfortable with the people who approach the world like us. I actually had a male mentor. My mentor when I was a young lawyer was a man who gave me great advice on work-life balance, which was, who said, if you don't pick up your kids from school, you are a bad parent. And he was giving it to me because it was in a context where I was stressed that I couldn't, it was just not practical for me to pick up my kids every day. And he looked at me, he said, who said good mothers are the ones that can pick up their kids from school? So, but from a female point of view, I think it's important for younger female lawyers to have female lawyers who have made it, because we always think that you have to choose. We think when you hit your late 20s, early 30s, you have to choose, do you want to be a lawyer or do you want to be to be a mother? And that the two can coexist. So the benefit that you would get from having a mentor who's gone through that journey, if that is the journey you want to embark on, is they will then guide you. They will tell you that, one, it is possible to do both. And they will tell you realistically that it is very hard. You need to put in a lot. It's a lot of hard work, but it is achievable. And it would also allow you to see people who've actually done it. Because depending on where you find yourself in your career, you might not be surrounded by a lot of women that have done it. Or you might think that they are not there because of merit, that they are there because the firm needed some females and that's how they got promoted. So mentoring is very important.
Thank you so much for that, Lerato. I just want to say a great welcome, big welcome to Ozofu. Thank you so much. We are glad you've finally been able to join us. So we've missed you, so I'll go straight to you and ask you, Ozofu, in your view, what role can women play to help other women along the way? How do we hold each other up?
And apologies to everyone, I was struggling to join. So just right to the question, I think that one way women can help other women is to be real about the struggles we face. So if I was mentoring a young lawyer, and I do mentor young female lawyers, I don't think it would serve them to make them think that it was an easy journey. It certainly wasn't easy for me, but it is possible, it's doable, it's rewarding. So as I'd mentioned to my panelists when we were preparing for this, several times in the course of my career, people have said to me, you're a superwoman. And initially it sounded like a compliment, but as I got older, I realized it's not really true. I'm not a superwoman, I'm a normal woman. And I do get tired, burnt out. I face the same struggles that my co-panelists have mentioned about balancing work and life, because I'm married and I have 3 kids, and I got married and had my kids in the course of building my career. So there's always a pull from both sides. You're being pulled by work because the work is demanding and is unrelenting. I don't know that there's a female lawyer that is a partner that would say, oh, I'm having an easy time and I'm not so busy. So we're busy. We're working under pressure, And then there's the demand of home, and you need to be present when you are there physically. And even when you're not there physically, your presence needs to be felt. So I think being real about the fact that it will take quite a lot of balancing. You will give and take. Sometimes you will choose your job over your family, and sometimes you will choose your family over your job. But how you do that so that overall you succeed on both fronts is something that every female lawyer will need to find the balance and what works for her. Having good support around you as well. So domestic support, you need to have, I know there's some, and this will lead me to the point about choosing your partner, but there are some women whose husbands may say, you can't have a nanny, you can't have someone living. If you're working as a lawyer, you're in practice, that just does not work. You cannot you have to have support. You need to be able to know that you can travel, because sometimes you will travel out of town for work. You need to know that you can work late, you can travel. I think another thing women can do to help younger women coming up in the legal practice is to teach, share your knowledge, correct. So invest. And I've come to realize that it's, the fact that a young lawyer is working with you and you're assigning work to them does not mean you're training them. It does take a lot to train somebody. You really invest of yourself. And sometimes it means pointing out errors, pointing out things that you could just ignore and leave them to their devices. So I would say to young female lawyers on this call, if you have female partners that you see take an interest in your work, and they're interested enough to correct you or to share knowledge with you or to point you in the right direction, I would say hold on to them, show your interest, draw them close. And because I think mentoring is a two-way street. We want to mentor, but we also want to know that we're not being foisted or foisting ourselves upon anybody. So I think that willingness of senior lawyers to share their knowledge and life experiences and help the younger female lawyers that are coming up is invaluable to encourage women stay on the path to partnership.
Thank you for that. I mean, your very last sentence brings me to my next question, because you said encouraging women to stay on the path to partnership. I mean, we all know that one peculiar problem for most firms is that women don't stay long enough in private practice to make partner. Can you share with us some of the things that helped you also for remain in practice to raise a family and still be able to make partner?
Okay, I think I'll divide my response into two. So I'll talk about the things my firm did, because I've spent my entire career in law in the same firm. So I'll talk about the things that the firm did that encouraged me to stay, and then I'll talk about some things that are personal to me. So first of all, my firm is merit-based, and I mean, what much as we would like to think all firms are, I think firms differ. So it's merit-based. When I walked in the door of that firm, I didn't know anybody. Like I wasn't, I didn't have a letter of recommendation from a partner's friend. There was nothing. I just walked. I was able to get an interview for an internship. I walked in the door and I did my best to sell myself. I got in. And then after that, it was all up to me, just my work speaking for me. So I think that being in an environment where you work hard and you can see the reward for your hard work, where you put in your best and that leads to promotions, etc. That is, I think, the beginning of being able to stay in legal practice and to grow your career there. I think also another thing the firm has done over the years is be deliberate about investing in women. So not just saying, oh, women should stay, we value women, but actually taking steps. And these steps have demonstrated sacrifice. So for instance, when I got married, I was a senior associate by the time. And for senior associates and upward, we have 6 months fully paid maternity leave, which is double the national standard in Nigeria. And so, in fact, at the time we started it, I wasn't aware that anybody else did it. And so for a woman, that means you go off to have a baby, you have 6 months where you're at home, you have peace, to take care of your baby and even begin weaning your child before you go back to work. And it also means that during that period, you're getting your salary at the end of the month, even though you're not working. So I recognize that it is a sacrifice for the firm to make. It's easy to just do the minimum and say, you know, I've tried, the woman should sort herself out. But that demonstrated to us that they really wanted us to go have the kids and come back. And then while you're away, people really just huddle and take over your work, make sure the client is happy, and that nothing is dropped because you're not there. I think that for me, more than anything else, influenced me to stay with the firm throughout my childbearing years. There was a time when I had problems. You know, I'd mentioned about having support at home. So once in a while, your nanny's left, you haven't replaced with another person and you have no backup. So there was a time for months I didn't have someone I could leave my daughter with. And I'd pick her up after school and she'll run around the office. Like, I don't know that there's anybody. She's now 14, but at that time she was about 6. I don't think there's anybody in my firm that didn't know her. She'll go into anybody's office, they'll give her crayons, she'll draw for them, she'll call, and she was free. I remember having a conversation with our managing partner at the time and apologizing for the fact that she was, all over the place. And he said, have you seen anybody complain? Why are you apologizing? But what this led to over time was that the office has now set up a creche. So you can either bring your kids or bring them with the nanny if you're not confident about leaving them alone with the nanny. And then our resumption time, we generally resume at 9. That gives parents an opportunity to drop their kids in school before they come to the office. So and then our statistics demonstrate that these strategies work. We have almost equal male and female representation in our partnership ranks. Right now we have 8 male partners and 7 female. Actually, a few months ago, we were 8 and 8. And in a few months, we're going to be back to being equal number male and female. And that is also not common in across Nigerian law firms. I know I'm running out of time. So the things that I did, I think personally, I think you need grit, you need staying power, you need inner strength. You need to not be thrown off by everything that will happen. There will be days you will be overwhelmed. There will be days that you will cry. There will just be days that you feel, I can't do this anymore. There are easier ways to build a career. But if you love your job and if you're happy with where you are, you can stay. So being able to draw inner strength will help you being able to stay on the path. And please, let me just make this point. The point about choosing your partner, so your husband, your wife, whoever it is that's your partner it cannot be overemphasized. Before I got married, my parents were my biggest cheerleaders. They wanted me to be lawyers. They always encouraged me. But now my husband is my biggest cheerleader. He doesn't complain about late hours. He doesn't complain about the demand. He just steps in and covers for me. He encourages me. So that is what you need. You can't have the stress of the workplace and then trouble on the home front. So please be patient and choose your life partner that will help you along this journey. Thank you. Let me stop there.
Thank you very much. I think you mentioned being adaptable. There are days that things will be bad, things will change, but it's important that you as a person, you learn to adapt easily to the times. When you're in your childbearing years, there are certain things you need to do. When you are in your 14th year and your kids are grown up, there are things that you need to do. So it's important that you are adaptable. I just want to encourage everyone, if you have questions, please use the Q&A button. If you have comments, use the chat button. And please share on social media the key messages that you are hearing from our panelists today. And don't forget, when you share it on social media, please tag the Institute of African Women in Law on your social media post, and we'll do very well to reshare it. Now back to Patricia. There's a very important subject I want you to address, and this is about women in leadership struggling with imposter syndrome. How can women overcome or handle imposter syndrome?
Thank you, Nania. So I think someone mentioned earlier on that our profession is a merit-based one. If you don't deserve it, you'll be exposed with just time, you'll be exposed. And so if, as time goes on, when you're elevated or you're you are promoted, just believe in yourself and know that you really and actually deserve this, because nobody's going to hand anything to you on a silver platter. Every single achievement that a woman in a law firm gets is based on merit. If it's not based on merit, other people will find you out. And so just believing in yourself and knowing that you actually deserve some of the things that come to you. So if it's a promotion, like me, I've been promoted. I was promoted last year. I had confidence issues starting my career, but over time I realized that, look, I put in the work. I don't sleep as much as other people. I make sure I meet client deadlines. Why don't I deserve this? I actually deserve this. And so when I had that change of mindset, it's been good since. And I encourage every woman that if you're in a law firm, if you're starting your career and you're working hard and you're rewarded or promoted or elevated into partnership, believe that you actually did it. So we need to be more confident as women. And it's such a shame that is something that appears to be common amongst women. I don't know why, because we put in as much work as the men. So it shouldn't be. So be confident, believe in yourself, know that you deserve what you've been given, because if you didn't deserve it, you will not be given. And if you are given something that you don't deserve, you'll be exposed just with time. People will see through it. And so we just need to believe in ourselves, be confident, and be prepared in everything that we do. If it's a meeting that you're going for, please prepare. When you walk into the meeting, you walk in dressed nicely, you walk in prepared, you speak with authority the area that you're supposed to speak on. Don't ever think that, look, you've walked into this room because someone thinks that you're pretty or someone thinks that you are tall and so they're giving you this opportunity. No. If you are given that opportunity, other people will see through it if it's not merit-based. It's difficult to climb up the ladder without any saying that it's because you are not enough or you don't deserve it. You do deserve it if you are rewarded for it. So these are my 3 tips: that you just believe in yourself, be confident, know that everything that you've achieved is something that you actually do deserve because of your hard work and your diligence over the period. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, I'll pose a similar question to Lerato, because you have established DM5 Incorporated, like an initially all women law firm. Please, can you share some practical tips on how women leaders can handle imposter syndrome?
Thank you very much, Nania. Well, for me, imposter syndrome is just one of the many negative voices that you're going to hear. I mean, there's an analogy that they use in rural areas and in townships. They say if a vehicle passes by, there'll be dogs chasing it. And that analogy might not work if you live in suburbia and stuff, but what it means is you are doing something right. You are moving in your life. And the bigger the something, the bigger the negative voices. It's a guaranteed thing. I don't think you ever get to a point where you think, I'm here, I'm it, I've made it. And I'm not even sure if you're supposed to get to that point, because when you get to that point, you become complacent. If you no longer have the butterflies and the nerves when you're going to the meeting and you're rereading that document because you want to come out prepared, like Patricia was saying now, be prepared. When you lose that, for me, you lose your opportunity to succeed. So identify it for what it is. Accept that the bigger the pitch, the louder the voice, you'll start doubting, am I prepared enough? Do I deserve it? Do I even qualify to be in that platform? It's part of the journey. I don't know if it ever stops. It certainly hasn't stopped for me, unfortunately. But what has changed is I'm now able to identify it and deal with it. When I'm sitting by myself and I'm preparing, whether it's a big case or it's a big meeting or it's negotiations, when that voice comes, I know what it is, and I have to remind myself that I've had this voice before, I've dealt with it, there's nothing imposter about me. I put in the long hours, as Patricia is saying, I've earned the position that I have. I've worked very hard for it. But so self-awareness is definitely the first thing. But another way to detract from it is set a goal. You have a goal, you're there to achieve something, and focus on it. Even as self-doubt comes at you strongly, even as fear or whatever it is that you are feeling that is negative, focus on achieving the goal. Because if all your energies are put towards the goal, you are prepared, you've done the work, you've done this, you'll achieve the goal. You might achieve it with the imposter syndrome. Luckily, it doesn't get written on your forehead. Nobody will know. Nobody knows all the voices that you are hearing, but you will achieve the goal, which is the ultimate. I mean, you are there because you want to achieve something. And don't let all those voices detract you from the goal. There's a motivational speaker once who said, you hold your fear on the one side, you hold the dream on the other, and you jump. And on the day that I had it, it made good sense to me that as self-doubt comes, as fear, as everything comes, you still have to push through it. And it gets better as you grow in your profession, the confidence grows, you learn to handle it better. And lastly, keep a healthy memory box for your previous successes. Sometimes when the goal is too big, you start thinking, do I even deserve this account? Or maybe you've been given the account and you start thinking, will we do it? We don't have this, we don't have that. We're not big enough for women with this. Go back to your healthy memory storage box and remember all the times you've achieved it before. Because for you to get to partnership, you would have had lots of achievements before. And even at partnership, you would have had achievements. Look back at your achievements and know that if I did that and I did it through my own hard work and everything, I can do this one too. And accept, though, it is part of the journey. The negative voices, for me, they are guaranteed to come. I don't know if there's a way to permanently shut them out, but focus on the goal.
Thank you very much. I mean, I remember when I became partner, I had this, I was really battling with imposter syndrome. And I went to my mom and I said to her, I'm not sure I should be here. I'm not sure I have all the skills, I deserve this. And, she put it rather simply. She said, well, whether you deserve it or not, whether you worked hard or not, whether you should be here or not, the fact is you are here, so make the most of it. So one way to tell yourself is, no matter how you feel, the point is you are there. Make it worth your while. Do the best that you can do with where you've been placed. Now, my final question will go to Ozofu. I wanted to find out from you, this year's theme for International Women's Day is breaking the bars. Very quickly, can you give us your take on this theme, specifically in relation to women becoming partners?
Okay, I think what this year's, part of this year's theme, as it some of the discussions around it that I listened to, focused on unconscious bias and ways in which the system has already been structured to be biased in one way or the other against women, even by people that are not conscious that they're being biased. I think that in relation to decisions around hiring and promotions, we need to look with a more gender neutral lens. Again, takes me back to the point I made about merit, where if it is based on merit, it doesn't matter that the person you're discussing in that promotion meeting is pregnant and she's about to go on maternity leave. It doesn't matter that she just got married and doesn't have children, so it's very likely to want to have children in the coming years. Those things are part of, they're such a natural part of life. They're the reason why we're here, the reason why even the men are here. Somebody gave birth to each of us at some point. So it shouldn't be a thing that you think about and you say, I'm going to hire this woman, but she may apply for leave and be gone for months in the next year or so. And I think having women at the table, so women in the partnership ranks, women amongst the recruitment panel and the promotion meeting, having women am there, it's the responsibility of we women that now have a seat at those tables to be able to ensure that such biases do not come through and that everything is merit-based. I just personally, I remember that I was on, while I was on maternity leave, most times it seemed to coincide with our bonus, the time in the year where we pay bonuses. And I remember being on maternity leave, not having worked for months, and then just get a credit notification that I got my bonus. So there was no prejudice to the fact that I wasn't even there at the time. I also remember once being heavily pregnant, about to start my leave, but I hadn't yet gone, but I was out of the office. I took some time off, and my friends in the office called me and were rejoicing that my promotion had been, and I wasn't even expecting it. I just kind of was focused on going away to have my child. So this is to demonstrate that even in the midst of that, I got promotions, I got my bonuses. It just wasn't a factor. And I would say this, when you invest in women that way, and not to be biased against men, but women, we do tend to be very loyal, slightly more emotional, slightly less financially driven in the decisions we make. These things encourage women when they have an environment where they know that, they're being considered and their peculiarities are not working against them. It works for the organization because the women are likely to stay and likely to be, less likely to be lured away only by money. And I think in the legal profession, this is important because while you're going on that path to partnership, you may not always feel as if you are earning the best, in terms of financial reward. But there are other things that can make it worthwhile for a woman to stay and remain in a law firm and in legal practice.
Thank you very much. I'm conscious of the time. You have very little time. So I just want each panelist to give us 3 takeaways for women aspiring to become partners. Let's start with Lerato.
Sure, only 3? The first one is
3 very quickly.
One is accept that there will be sacrifices. Everything that's worth it, it's worth the sacrifice. It's not going to be smooth. Like the example I was making, you'll make the play sometimes you won't make the play. You still remain a good parent and you can be a good lawyer as well at the same time. Secondly is use your strengths. You need to understand where your strengths lie. Some people in a professional environment, some people write well, some people argue well, some people negotiate well. Use your strengths because it is your strengths that will lead you to partnership. It is your strength. When you work off your strength, building on it as a base, it's easier than trying to be somebody else, trying to copy another partner. You like how she argues. If that's not your strength, it's not going to work. So stick with your strength as a base and build on it. And every strength has a place in a law firm. Most of the strengths that have gotten you to senior associate, for example, level, it's because the firm sees value in what you can add to it. So hone on your strengths and build on it. And then lastly, learn the soft skills, the networking, the business development, the socializing, because I find as female lawyers, sometimes people say, let's go out for drinks after work. And you're thinking, no, I'd rather go and be with my child. And while sometimes, yes, go and be with your child, but if those drinks, there's going to be someone who you need to impress or form a relationship with, that setup might be better than trying to engage them in the office. So the soft skills are as equally important as the technical skills.
Thank you very much, Patricia. Very quickly.
Yeah, so we can't overemphasize the technical skills or technical ability too much. So I'm going to move to the other things and develop or continue from where Lerato ended. My first point is on planning your career. For the younger lawyers, you have a fine opportunity to plan your career. You don't want to go 5 years, 6 years down the line and you're still not sure of where you want to take your career, the direction in which you want to take your career. So if you're a young lawyer, if you're newly admitted or you were just called to the bar, you need to have a plan. Have short-term goals, have medium-term goals, have long-term goals. You can keep revising some of these goals as we go along, but have those goals. They will guide you. If it's school that you want to further your education and go get an LLM, please put that down and work at it. Once you put that down, you find yourself trying to work around those ones. Not all of them will materialize, but I believe just having a plan is a good start for you. Also, I think that business development is key. I know Lerato mentioned it, but I want to share my experience with a client of ours that we have now, a big client. And this client, the firm has been trying to get work from for many years. I think since the inception of the firm, they've been trying to get work from this client. Guess what? I got work from that client just because of relationship, just because I had worked with that the lawyer from that company before, and he liked my work. He was somewhere else. He just liked my work. And when he moved to this new big client of ours, he called me. I was the first lawyer he called when he got that job. Hey, Patricia, I'm head of legal here. We've been getting work, not just work for myself or my team. The other teams in the firm have been getting work from that. So you can't, business development, networking, constantly, not expecting anything in the immediate term, but just leverage. You never know when something may pop up. So business development and networking is key. And my last points, I'll run through
very quickly.
Yes, my last point is your interpersonal relationships. When you go to a law firm or you go to, you are employed, just look around and see what the firm culture is. You go to a place and you realize that all the seniors are very nice, they'll joke with you, they'll laugh with you. Don't lose sight of the fact that you are still junior, you are now coming up, and you must respect all of them. They may play with you, but keep that respect all the time in how you relate to them, no matter how they relate to you. They may be overly friendly, but always maintain that level of respect and just keep a very good interpersonal relationship. It will help you as you develop in your career. So these are my three quick points, Nania.
Thank you. Ozofu, over to you, very quickly.
Okay, so very quickly, the first one I would say is do not limit yourself. Do not think you don't have what it takes. You have what it takes. I think with a combination of hard work, diligence, and giving your all consistently, you will come out on tops in a merit-based organization. So like I said before, ensure that you are investing your time and trusting your career to such an organization, and then just go for it, give it your best. My second point is, like I said before, you are not a superwoman. You are a normal human being. It is okay to be tired and burnt out. It is okay to decide that you worked last weekend and this weekend you're taking time for yourself. It is okay to go on vacations. So just create the outlets you need so that you can refresh and regroup and come back energized when you need to. My last point is be patient, but speak up for yourself. So even if you're a superstar associate, there is really wealth, and I want to emphasize on the word wealth in the phrase wealth of experience. There's wealth to be gained over time as you practice the law and you just grow in your career. You find that you're becoming really older, in quote, but wiser. You just in terms of your legal knowledge is growing, but also your wisdom as a human being. And these are things that you will bring to bear as a partner. You'll be making, because as a partner, you're not just senior management, you're also co-owner. And you're going to be making decisions that affect your organization, affect the people that work for you, affect, the brand image of the firm and your brand as well. So all that comes with time. I know that our younger generation, they are quite impatient, maybe not as patient as we were, but there is still some patience that's required as you go on your journey. So that said, I think you should speak up. If you think that your firm could do better, I think you should be how the workplace might be better suited to you and to others, to other women in the firm and generally other colleagues. And also just, be patient, invest in the right place, and give it your all. I think with that and all the other tips, you will, ultimately get to that partner position.
Thank you so much to our panelists. And I want to also share my 3 takeaways. If you're a woman and you want to become partner, number 1, invest in your professional development. And I'm not just talking about technical skills, I'm also talking about soft skills. You have to find something also that you can do, and you are the one who can do it best. So you find a niche or specialization, something you love, concentrate on it, build your technical skill there. It will make working easier, and then it will help you on your route to becoming partnership. Number 2, I think is so important. Be visible. And I wish I had learned this earlier on in my career. I always say that it's important to be talented, but it's equally important for others to know that you're talented. So be visible within your firm, be visible outside the firm, and in your practice area. People will only give you work if they know you, if they trust you, and if they like you. They cannot know, trust, or like you if you are not visible. So please be visible within your firm and outside your firm. Develop your personal brand, join a professional association, network, and write, publish. Number 3, remember that partnership is not a promotion. That's why we use the term elevated to partnership. It's not only about your competence, but there has to also be a business case for you being elevated to partnership. So start generating your own book of business so that you are generating work, not simply doing work that you are given or assigned to do. You must be a business within a business. Clients should walk through your firm's doors because of you, and they need to come to the firm asking for you. And the only way you can do this is to build relationships that translates to work. Now, we will now move to our question and answer. We have a couple of questions, and I'll throw it to the panel and anyone can pick it up. So the first question is, if there's anything you could have done differently on your professional journey, what would that be? I'll ask Lerato this.
If there's anything I would have done in my professional journey, I don't think I have regrets. Hey, I'm probably not the best person to answer. I'm quite satisfied with how my career turned out. But perhaps for those who are aspiring to be partners in their own firms, advice that I would give is a law firm is a business. Learn the business side, because that was the blind spot for me, learning the business side of a law firm.
Thank you. For me, I definitely have to say that one regret I have is not being visible, diminishing myself, being afraid to shine. And I think it's one thing that women struggle with. It's difficult for us to come out and shine because we always want to sort of hide our radiance. Please be visible. I wish I had done this much earlier on in my career. I could have, I was good, but I wasn't translating that so that others outside the firm were getting to know that. So please try and be visible. We have a question from Emanuela, and it's to Patricia. The question is, at what stage in your legal career did you know you wanted to be a partner? Does it end with attaining partnership, or there is more you want to do in your legal career?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Manuela. So I've always wanted to be a partner, and it goes back to the point I made earlier on planning. So from the very start, I was planning my career. So I had long-term goals. So if I showed you my appraisals, my past appraisals, you see constantly I have in there that my long-term goal is to be a partner. From the very day I set foot in this firm, when I made a decision that I was going to do just corporate and commercial work, I didn't look back. And for a female lawyer to be in a law firm, the goal is to hit partnership. So from the very start, it's been on my plate and my goals. It's been one of my main goals. The other things that, or the partnership, there are different levels. You may not be aware, but there are different levels. We have partners here who have been, they have 21 years at the bar experience. I am almost 10 years at the bar. We have senior partners who are 15, 16, 20 years and over, and there are levels to the partnership. And so once you're elevated and you get your foot into the room, you need to constantly strive to move up the partnership ladder. So at this, currently I'm down there somewhere, but I hope to move up as time goes on. As I keep working hard and giving of my best, I hope to move up. I hope I've answered your question, Emanuela.
Thank you, Patricia. We have a question from Priscilla. Her question is that she's a law student, but she wants to know how soon should she decide which area of the law to specialize in. She's been advised to settle into practice first before deciding which way to go, but she's also received another advice which says that she should decide now and pursue a master's degree in that field right after school, because that would raise her value when she starts practice. I want to ask Ozofu, what do you think about this? Should she hone down in one field to specialize in or not?
Okay, I think the advice I'll give her is what my experience was, which I think was the best, well, I think was a good approach. In the first 2 or so years of my practice, I didn't specialize. So I did community sectorial, I did litigation, I did corporate, I did a bit of banking, just a little bit of anything, any work that was thrown at me. At the time, for instance, I didn't like going to court, but I had no choice, so I did it. But what I found now, and I did find in a few years after that, was that foundational knowledge is invaluable. Because when you are sitting in a meeting with the client, you don't know what the client's problems are. Sometimes they come to you or they send you a mail, or can we have a call? And based on what they said in the mail, you think they want to talk about corporate law. Then you start the call, and then it's something about tending on breach of contract, and they're leaning towards what are our remedies, and your litigation knowledge may help you there. You know, a little bit of tax, not even if you're not a tax person, just a little bit to at least start an initial conversation. So I think if you're completely limited, all you can do is that 1 or 2 things. But if you have a good foundation, then you can, start a conversation and then pass them off to a more knowledgeable colleague, but you can make a better first impression. Now, in relation to masters, I'm not a fan, and I think the legal profession is not one where academic knowledge is the premium thing that gets you to the top of legal practice. It is invaluable, but your experience as well, it teaches you in a way that you don't learn in school. So what I did was that I practiced for 2 years. And in those 2 years, I had clarity. Because when I came out of law school, I knew I wanted to do a master's, and I had an idea what I wanted to do it in. But in those 2 years, I got to enjoy other areas of law that I had no idea existed when I was in uni. And so I changed the focus of my master's. And I'm very happy with what I chose. I think I made a more informed decision. So I gave myself 2 years of general practice. Then I did my master's, and I came back and began to specialize. I think that if you want to do a master's, you should do it. I think that 2-year gap is enough, and then you should do it. I certainly think you should do it as soon as possible, but allowing yourself some time to work so you are sure where you want to focus your master's on. It's better to get it out of the way before you get older, and then you're paying school fees, and you have other things that, because you may have to fund it yourself, and then things competing for your finances, you may not end up just giving it up. I think, was that the
yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you. We have another question which says that how do you deal and manage an introvert personality when you have to network and keep visibility all around for work purposes? I'll throw that to Lerato because I think you touched a bit on that.
Okay, my advice to how you manage. Once you know yourself better, you know what your weaknesses are and you know what your strengths are. So for example, when DM5 was still early, I struggled because I'm an introvert as well. I struggled a lot with marketing. For me, I literally had to put on a new personality for the meeting. But it comes with, as once you know yourself, you know what your weaknesses are, then you work on it. You're worried about being an introvert and how to network. As you walk through that door, you walk with a purpose. You've set the goal, and the goal at that meeting is you want to meet 2 new people. As difficult as it is, but I think if you are aware, it makes it better. It's much more difficult if you are not aware, because you can't even explain to yourself why you can't approach people. You become aware, you set a goal, you appreciate that for you to achieve the goal, you might have to push through some difficulties, including going to stand at a table and making small talk with colleagues at a function that you don't know, and you do it. You get better at it with time. But you just be willing to push through the discomfort, because it can be very uncomfortable. The same thing with being visible. You need to walk into that partner's office and say, I have capacity. As difficult as it might be, sometimes you rehearse your one sentence, I have capacity, 3 times before making it to the door. But because you are self-aware, you can work through it.
I just want to add that really, you made a very fantastic point, which is you sort of put on that personality when you need to put it on. A lot of people who may know me will think that I'm an extrovert, but no, I'm actually an introvert. But when it comes to business, I do a lot of business development at my firm. When it comes to business development, I'm a totally new person, a different person. And I put it on and go back to who I am as and when that is required. Another thing I can say about being an introvert is that you don't need to be visible by being out there physically. You can publish, you can write. That won't allow you to, that will allow you to still be an introvert. You perhaps will not go out of your comfort zone, but your name is still out there. You are also putting yourself out there. So don't think about it only in terms of physically going to meet people. There are a lot of people, we only know them by name. We haven't even seen them before, but we know their work. So that's one way to go about it. I have a question which says, has any of the panelists experienced gender discrimination in the workplace as a form of intimidation or negative competition, so as to out you? And if so, how did you handle it? I'll throw it to the panelists in general. Does anyone have an experience they want to share? Or if they have not, do you have any thoughts on this question? Because I think it's an important question.
Well, if I may, I wouldn't quite say what I experienced was, it was a form of discrimination. I had just come back from maternity leave, and it was bonus time. I was listening to Ozofu speaking earlier and admiring how different her experience is compared to what my experience was. But it was bonus time, and the discussion was, do I deserve to be rewarded the same time as someone who had been there for 12 months, who was a male colleague, as opposed to me who had missed about 5 months of that year because I was home for maternity leave. And for me, how I dealt with it, one, I raised it. I mean, it was a sensitive thing for me. So I was very vocal about why I think that approach is wrong and why I think being compared to a male colleague who can never be pregnant, even if they chose to, is even worse. It's like I can never win against that person. So one, I raised it. It caused a lot of discomfort, but also what it made me realize was perhaps I was in a wrong environment. The fact that my bosses thought that way about females and female lawyers in particular, it kind of said to me I was in the wrong place because they were putting me on a battle I could never win. Needless to say, that's why DM5 is a female-owned firm. That's how it came about. I made a call that there was no way I could meet that or challenge that successfully because I was not going to change who I am.
Thank you for that. In fact, there was a question that wanted to find out why you started your own law firm, and I think you've just answered that brilliantly. Can I find out from Ozofu? There's a question here which says, how do you advise a third-year law student to become visible at such an early stage? How would you advise that person to find a mentor?
Okay, so I think the easiest way to identify a mentor is someone within your firm, because you get to interact with them, so it's easier to see whether this person, whether you believe that this is somebody you would like to emulate and someone you'd like to invest in you. So I would say start with the more senior lawyers in your firm and see if there's anybody that you like. Sometimes I get emails, I get lawyers from other firms reaching out to me. And while you may take a call with, set up a Zoom call, but I don't think it's the same as working under somebody and then also having that direct person-to-person contact, all the time, where you can just walk in and have a conversation. So I would encourage you trying to find someone in your firm. And like I said, you choose your firm in as much as you apply for a job. You also choose where you work in. If that environment you don't find it to be suitable, then please look for something else. So I would like to believe that if you're in your firm, you chose that firm because you thought those were the sort of lawyers you wanted to become in future. I think in terms of being more visible, 3 years, if you're 3 years post-call, you can write articles, you can co-author some, even if the topic is, maybe you think you can't take on that topic alone, we always co-author articles. So you may assist a partner with the research and writing of an article, and then you're both named as co-authors. Also, social media.
Third year law student.
Oh, law students also,
Law
sorry.
students, yeah.
Sorry. Okay, so yes, I think, but when I was a law student, I wrote articles on legal topics. I remember writing on human rights and in the environment, in the newspaper. So I got them published, and it was part of what I used as my selling point when I got my first job interview with my firm. So you can write for your school, your faculty's law journal. You can write, just opinion pieces in the paper and put it all together, and then have that, as part of the reasons why you are the best candidate for the job. I'll say that. And then when you do get the job, then you can build on the other skills we've talked about.
I totally agree with you on that. I mean, at that early stage, definitely invest in your student magazine or your student quarterly. Patricia, there's a question here for you. Do you have any tips for young lawyers trying to build their confidence?
Knowledge is power. Your confidence would come from the knowledge that you have. If you have knowledge or you take time to learn, when issues come up or areas or topics come up on areas that you've studied or you've taken time to learn, you realize that you're more confident, you will speak up more, okay? So one of the key things is just constantly learning. Once you learn, the confidence, it has some link, some relation to it, is natural. So constantly be up to date, okay? Don't look at other people, just focus on yourself. Learn as much as possible, because in the legal practice, once you have technical ability or people see how smart or how well you analyze things, they'll be naturally drawn to you, okay? So one of the key things on how to improve your confidence is just building your technical expertise. Build your technical expertise, and you won't keep quiet in any room at all. Also, I don't know if Nania, can I go on?
Yes, please.
Okay, yeah. And also, if there are lots of articles that you can read about how other people have done it. What has worked for me is just making sure that my work is top notch. And also taking the opportunity to speak. So when we go for meetings, I'll tell my boss, I've prepared well on this subject area. So I would like to speak. So she knows that I'm ready. And then when we get into the meeting, she will allow me to speak. So when you keep doing that over time, she would know that, oh, she can actually do it, and she'll allow you to. But if you do not push and you can't say, okay, I'm not confident, then Lord, this practice, you need to be confident. If you are not confident, it will be hard for you to rise. It will be hard for you to even be visible. So learn or try as much as possible to up your game when it comes to your technical expertise, and also push. Ask for opportunities. If the opportunities are not being presented to you, if it's not coming to you, nobody is coming to ask you that, I want you to answer a question, ask for it. That's what I was doing. I'll go into a meeting. I realized after 3 meetings, I wasn't speaking. I said, no, I cannot continue like this. And so what I did for myself was to ask to speak. So my boss already knew I was prepared. And when we enter the meeting, she will allow me, when a question comes and she knows I'm prepared on that subject matter, she will allow me to flow. And gradually, she weaned me off and I could attend meetings on my own. So that's something that a young lawyer can actually do to help improve their confidence.
Thank you so much, Patricia. If we have just 2 more questions, we'll answer those very quickly. But please remember that the Institute has a new series starting in May. On 10th May, it's called Taking the Leap from Local to Global. I certainly will be participating and joining to hear what others have to say. So please check out the website for more details on this series. We have one question saying that, how do you deal with your colleagues or others thinking you are a bit extra all the time? I mean, I think first of all, accept who you are. You can't change who you are for anyone. If they think you are extra, own it. Because as I said, you have to turn you have to always lead with what is unique about you. The truth is that if you are extra, you can stand, that means you will stand out. And if you are going to stand out, make sure you are standing out in a good way. So please don't try to change who you are, and please don't try to make people accept a version of you that is not authentic. And I am sure you'll be totally fine. Extra is always a good idea, trust me. Now, our last question is, please, I want to know where you draw the line between abusing access to a person and trying to maintain a relationship with the senior or mentor. Ozofu, can I ask you to address that if you can?
So you repeat the question, abusing access and what?
Yes, they want to know where you draw the line between abusing access to a person and trying to make a relationship with a senior or mentor. I think people are always worried about whether they are getting into their personal space or they are worrying them. Okay,
I think that maybe you certainly start with interactions within the workplace. So if you are working in the same firm, instead of calling them on their mobile after hours, start by approaching them during work, either in the office if you're physically at work, or if you are working remotely, then maybe call them during work hours. I think you should come out and say, oh, I'd really like for you to mentor me. I admire the way you practice, and I want to learn from you. So just come out with it. And the person might, take the initiative and say, oh, let's meet once a week at this time, and you agree a time. Or the person may say, oh, no problem, call me anytime you have a question. Sorry, anytime you have a question, feel free to reach out. And so I think if you do, try to accumulate your questions or what you want to talk about and reach out maybe once a week. I think once a week is good enough. And then based on how the relationship develops, you will know whether you can talk with them more or less. And I think that if it's successful and you do develop a relationship where you're really comfortable with each other, then it would naturally flow to being able to pick up the phone and call, even chatting on WhatsApp. There are several associates I chat with on WhatsApp, like we even share jokes. So it's not everybody, but there's some that have built that relationship. So I think you just let the partner take lead in terms of how they want you to communicate with them, but take it slow and see how it grows. That's what I'll say.
Finally, thank you so much to all our panelists. Finally, I mean, I have learned so much from you, and we are extremely grateful that you made the time to join us. Thank you to our participants who have been very patient. We've overrun our time, but you have stayed with us. Thank you so much. And our greatest thanks goes to the Institute for taking the initiative to put together such a great series for all of us. We are all very grateful. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. And please remember, share your takeaway messages on social media and tag the Institute. Bye-bye.